Imagine for a second, right, that every piece of sensitive information you've ever sent online, your bank details, private chats, even, national security secrets, could one day just be cracked open effortlessly.
It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does. But here's the thing. Breakthroughs in quantum computing. They're making this a very real, very urgent threat. So today we're taking a deep dive into post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. And this isn't just some future tech talk. PQC is about building classical crypto systems we use now, but making them quantum safe.
Exactly. So they can keep our information secure even when we have these cryptographically relevant quantum computers, or CRQCs, become a reality.
CRQCs.
Got it.
And that's precisely where the urgency clicks in. Look, a CRQC that can break today's encryption might still be, maybe a decade, maybe two away?
Okay, that sounds like a decent amount of time.
You'd think so, but the sheer complexity, the scope of migrating everything to these new security protocols,
Right.
It's huge. Organizations absolutely have to start this process now.
Like right now. Right now. Waiting. It's just not an option. We're facing this threat. People call it harvest now, decrypt later.
Harvest now, decrypt later. Okay, unpack that.
Think about it. State actors, maybe sophisticated criminals, they could be siphoning off encrypted data today.
Yeah.
Intellectual property, government secrets, you name it.
Stuff that's securely encrypted for now.
For now, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're hoarding it, knowing that years down the line, once they get their hands on a powerful enough CRQC, they can unlock it all. It's a long game.
Wow.
And we need to be ready for it.
That is. Yeah, that's a chilling scenario. But it perfectly sets up our mission for this deep dive, doesn't it?
It does.
We're going to explore a really comprehensive roadmap. It's from the MITRE Corporation, and it's designed specifically to guide organizations step by step through this whole PQC journey.
It's quite practical.
Yeah, it gives this overview of 4 key categories, all the activities involved. Basically, a clear path forward to securing our digital future. And this Amari roadmap, it's not just, a few bullet points. It really is a structured approach, almost like a journey plan, or maybe a big project plan for securing everything.
That's a good way to put it. A project plan.
It breaks the whole thing down into 4 main categories, stages almost. First up is preparation.
Right.
Then baseline understanding.
Knowing what you've got.
Exactly. After that, planning and execution.
Make it happen.
And finally, monitoring and evaluation, keeping it secure.
And what's interesting, what's really key here is that while it is structured, it's also incredibly flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, the way one company implements it won't look the same as another. And that's intentional. Some parts might happen at the same time. Others might be staggered.
Depends on the organization.
Totally. Depends on things like the shelf life of their data. How long does that information need to stay secret? How much do they already know about their systems? And of course, the budget. These updates can involve significant software and hardware changes.
So it's adaptable, not just one rigid path.
Exactly. It's a guide, not a straitjacket.
All right, so with that whole harvest now, decrypt later thing hanging over us, where does an organization even start? This sounds massive.
It is massive. And the roadmap acknowledges that. Category 1 is preparation, getting ready. And the very first step, activity 1.1, is maybe a bit counterintuitive.
Oh.
It's about figuring out if PQC migration is actually urgent for you, for your specific organization.
Ah, okay. So not everyone needs to panic equally, maybe. How do they figure that out?
Well, they need to estimate 3 things: the migration timeline, the information shelf life, and the threat timeline.
Migration, shelf life, threat.
Got it. And this isn't always simple. We often see organizations get surprised by the real shelf life of their data. Maybe there's a legacy system holding customer records from decades ago.
Oh, right. Stuff you forgot you even had.
Exactly. Or historical research data. Suddenly, that data's longevity puts them squarely in the urgent adopter category, even if they didn't think they were. It's a common blind spot.
So you differentiate between urgent and regular adopters.
We do. An urgent adopter might be handling super-sensitive data, running critical infrastructure. Somewhere, a breach would be catastrophic. A regular adopter still needs to migrate, of course, but the immediate risk from those store now decrypt later themes is maybe a bit lower.
What else do they consider for urgency?
Things like their attack surface, potential system malfunctions if crypto fails, how critical and sensitive the data is, the expected lifespan of the assets using the crypto, and importantly, any interdependencies. Who else relies on your systems?
Okay, that makes sense. It's a holistic view. And once you figure out if and how urgently you need to act, then what? Who actually takes charge? That's activity 1.2, right? Assigning a lead.
Spot on. This needs a champion. Someone has to drive it.
So who is that usually? IT? Security?
It varies, but the roadmap recommends appointing a specific migration lead. That could be one person or maybe a small team. Their job is basically to monitor everything, keep the progress moving.
And they need clout, I guess.
Absolutely. They need to be positioned well enough to talk to leadership, technical teams, vendors, everyone really, both inside and outside the organization, of the central coordinator, keeping things on track.
Okay, so you have your lead. Now, you mentioned knowing what you have. Activity 1.3 is about identifying existing inventory and awareness, like checking the foundations before you build.
Precisely. The migration lead's next job is planning how to get a baseline understanding of what crypto the organization is actually using.
Finding all the crypto.
Right. Which means digging up any existing inventories, maybe risk assessments that have already been done, and something called cryptographic bills of materials, or CBOMs.
CBOMs, like a software biome, but for crypto.
Exactly like that. A detailed list of all the crypto components in a system. The thing is, organizations often have multiple inventories, done for different reasons over the years.
So you need to consolidate.
You need to document what's already known, where data is, who owns it, what it's for. This helps clarify the real needs early on and, crucially, avoids wasting money and effort reinventing the wheel.
What's the big challenge there?
Often it's finding the crypto that's kind of hidden. Maybe it's embedded deep in old code, or nobody quite remembers how a certain offline process works. The unknown unknowns.
This sounds like it goes way beyond the tech team. It's really an organizational change, isn't it? Getting everyone on the same page must be vital. Which brings us to activity 1.4, identifying stakeholders and strategic messaging.
It absolutely is vital. A migration like this touches almost every part of a business.
So the lead needs a comms plan.
Definitely. They need to identify all the stakeholders, anyone who depends on the systems, supports them, or will benefit from the migration, and then align them.
How do you do that? What's the message?
The plan needs to answer key strategic questions, like what's the ROI here? How urgent is this really? How will we measure success? What are the budget implications, the operational needs?
And practically.
You need tactical things too, positioning statements, maybe anticipating the concerns different groups will have, having a crisp elevator pitch ready. It's about building commitment across the board.
And part of that stakeholder work, activity 1.4a, sounds important early on. Beginning engagement with system vendors and operators, starting those external and internal chats.
Crucial early conversations. You need to start scoping out the needs with the people who run the systems internally and the companies that supply the software and hardware externally.
What kind of questions should you be asking then?
Key things, like when will your PQC solutions actually be ready? Are we talking software updates? Or do we need new hardware? What are the likely costs? How will this impact our business operations?
And asking about those CBOMs again.
Yes, absolutely. Will you provide a CBOM? And also, what about crypto agility? Can your systems easily swap algorithms later if needed? Getting answers, even preliminary ones, is vital for planning. You often uncover surprising dependencies or timelines here.
Okay, so phase 1, preparation is done. You know the why, the who, the what, roughly, and you've started talking to people. Now you need to really map the landscape. Category 2, baseline understanding, kicking off with activity 2.1, setting a discovery plan and budget.
Right. Now the migration lead takes all that initial info from preparation and makes a call. Do we need to do a much deeper dive into inventorying everything?
Which is activity 2.2.
Exactly. Or do we have enough information already to start prioritizing which assets need fixing first?
That's activity 2.3.
Correct. So activity 2.1 is deciding that path, more discovery or straight to prioritization, and then setting a budget specifically for these discovery efforts, making sure you have the resources to properly understand the scope of the challenge.
So let's say you do need that deeper dive. Activity 2.2, building an inventory for PQC migration, the digital asset map. This sounds like where the real heavy lifting of discovery happens.
It really is. You absolutely need centralized inventories to track this kind of migration across a whole enterprise. It's the only way to make sure you plan comprehensively and don't miss critical security gaps.
So how do you build this map?
Well, first you figure out the tools and methods you'll use. That's activity 2.2a.
Tooling and methods. What kind of tools?
You'd likely look at automated tools, things that can scan your hardware, your software, libraries, even embedded code to sniff out cryptographic algorithms.
Looking for specific things.
Yeah, algorithms used for key exchange, key management, data integrity, basically anything that relies on current crypto. Trying to find, say, Old, vulnerable encryption hard-coded into some obscure app or an IoT device. That's tough without automation.
And how deep do these tools need to go?
The granularity, the level of detail should match whatever level of risks the organization finds acceptable. Then, once you have the tools, Activity 2.2b is collecting and categorizing the information.
Getting down to the details?
Exactly. The migration lead works with the system operators to document everything about the critical assets. Who runs it? What data does it protect? What's the architecture? What does it talk to?
Sounds thorough.
It has to be. And crucially, you also need to document what you don't know. Be aware of the blind spots.
Like what?
Like maybe offline keys stored somewhere weird, or keys in formats nobody recognizes anymore. Think ancient backup tapes in a forgotten closet. It happens.
Wow, okay. Any tips for organizing all this?
One good tip is to organize the inventory by supplier or vendor. It just makes it much easier later when you need to contact them about updates or coordinate changes.
Okay, so now you have this incredibly detailed map of all your crypto assets, the knowns and hopefully fewer unknowns. Where do you actually start the migration? That's Activity 2.3, prioritizing critical assets.
Yes. Now, the migration lead pores over that inventory. They evaluate the sensitivity of the data on each asset and its expected lifespan.
Yeah.
How long does this stuff need to be kept secret?
And that determines priority.
Largely, yes. Systems protecting data that needs to stay confidential for decades, think patient records. Classified info, those jump to the front of the line. Their shelf life extends deep into the quantum threat era.
Can you get more granular?
Sure. An organization might decide to do a full quantum risk assessment. Really pinpoint the specific security, operational, maybe compliance risks they'd face if quantum computers broke their current crypto.
And this links back to the earlier steps.
Absolutely. You're constantly referencing those migration, shelf life, and threat timelines you figured out back in Activity 1.1. It ensures you tackle the most vulnerable, longest-lived data first.
All right, makes sense. We know it's vulnerable, it's inventoried, it's prioritized. Now, what's the actual plan to fix it? This moves us into Category 3, making it happen, planning and execution. Starting with Activity 3.1, setting a migration plan and budget.
Right. This is where you decide the specific course of action for each asset you prioritized.
What are the options?
Broadly, 3 choices. 1, mitigate the immediate risk somehow. 2, start the full migration to PQC for that asset. Or 3, in some very specific low-risk cases, maybe you formally decide to manage an exception and accept the quantum risk for that particular asset.
Okay, and this links to people too.
It does. This activity also considers the workforce changes needed skills, training, which we'll touch on more in Category 4. Then, working with finance and system teams, the migration lead estimates the costs and develops a proper work breakdown structure.
Like a project schedule.
Exactly. Scheduled tasks, timelines, associated costs for migrating all those priority assets.
So the plan's taking shape. Now for the solutions themselves. Activity 3.2. Identifying solutions, finding the right quantum-safe answers. What does this involve?
This is where the lead works closely with the internal tech teams and maintainers to pinpoint the specific PQC solutions needed.
Vendor solutions versus in-house.
That's a key distinction. Which updates do we need to buy from vendors? Which ones can or must we develop ourselves? And also, which systems just need a software patch versus those needing a full hardware upgrade, which is often more costly and complex. Now, a really crucial part of this is checking for compliance.
Compliance with what?
With the official PQC standards. You absolutely have to verify that any solution you choose aligns with what NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, has standardized.
You mentioned specific standards earlier.
Yes. Things like FIPS 203, 204, 205. These define the actual algorithms, like crystals to lithium for signatures and crystals Kyber for key exchange, that are becoming the standard. You also need to think about the NIST cryptographic module validation program.
And document this.
Document everything. It's essential. Now, optionally, but definitely recommended.
Yes.
Organizations should look into hybrid cryptographic implementations.
Hybrid? What's that?
It means using both a classical algorithm and a new PQC algorithm together. It offers a kind of safety net during the transition and helps with compatibility. Also, look at agile cryptographic systems.
To stow agility?
Yeah, systems designed so you can swap out algorithms easily later if a new threat emerges or standards change. It reduces future costs and helps avoid getting locked into one vendor's solution. And of course, as part of finding solutions, Activity 3.2a is about confirming migration needs with vendors. It's not a one-time check.
Keep talking to them.
Keep talking. Reconfirm availability, hardware needs, costs, business impacts. Ask again about that CBM. Keep the dialogue open. Then there's Activity 3.2b, building solutions in-house. What if you have custom systems, or your vendor isn't offering an update?
You build it yourself.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
So the lead coordinates that internal development. You need to figure out realistic timelines, hardware or software needs, the internal cost, and always ask, is there really no commercial alternative we could use instead?
Okay, so identifying and planning for the long-term solutions takes time. But what about that harvest now, decrypt later threat? What can organizations do right now? That's activity 3.3, establishing short-term measures.
Yeah, these are temporary fixes, band-aids almost, to buy you time and mitigate some immediate risk.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, things like shortening the lifespan of new digital certificates, increasing the key length for newly issued keys where possible, planning to revoke certificates that have been valid for way too long, modernizing your network security to use TLS 1.3, that's the latest standard for secure web connections. It's a better foundation. Also, taking a hard look at physical security for stored data, data at rest protections, especially for stuff that needs to last ages, maybe adding extra layers like VPNs.
They sound useful.
They are. But, and this is really critical, these are not a substitute for full PQC migration.
Just interim measures.
Exactly. They help, but they don't solve the fundamental problem. They just buy you valuable time while you work on the real fix.
Got it. So the roadmap then logically moves into actually getting these planned solutions in place. Activities 3.4 and 3.5, acquiring, developing, and implementing solutions.
That's right. Activity 3.4 is the procurement and development phase. The organization starts actually buying the PQC solutions from vendors or assigning internal resources to build them following that priority list.
And 3.5 is?
Implementation, rolling them out. This involves managing the inevitable disruptions to the business, ensuring things remain compatible forwards and backwards, especially if you're doing it incrementally, system by system.
This is where the theory meets practice.
This is absolutely where the rubber meets the road.
So the solutions are rolling out, but the job's not finished, right?
Yeah.
You said this is continuous. That takes us to the final category, category 4, staying secure, monitoring, and evaluation.
Correct. This isn't a project with a neat finish line. This last category is all about tracking how the migration is going, constantly reassessing your security as quantum tech evolves, and keeping all your documentation meticulously up to date.
So it's about building a sustainable process.
Exactly. A process for continuous evaluation that will help not just with PQC, but with any future technology shifts too, because the threat landscape never stands still.
Makes sense. It's like installing a new security system, but then you need to constantly check it's working and update it. Activity 4.1 is validating proper implementation. Does it work?
Precisely.
Oh.
Like checking your homework, as you said earlier. The migration lead needs to evaluate. Are these new PQC systems actually effective? Do they meet the cryptographic requirements? Do they meet the operational needs?
Like that backwards compatibility?
Including backwards and forwards compatibility? Yes. Once it's verified and working, you update the master inventory again. Mark that system as migrated. Keep that real-time picture of your security posture. And tied into this, Activity 4.1a is about ensuring alignment with industry standards.
Beyond the NIST PQC standards.
Yeah, think about existing regulations. If you're in healthcare, IQPA. If you operate in the EU, NIS2 directive, you need to make sure your PQC migration aligns with those broader compliance requirements.
Does PQC help with those?
Interestingly, yes. Those standards often already require things like future-proofing or regular risk assessments. So starting PQC planning now actually helps you meet those existing obligations too. It builds a stronger case for getting started.
Okay, implementation checked. Now, how do you track progress overall? You can't manage what you don't measure, right? Activity 4.2, creating measures to track PQC migration success.
So critical. You need metrics. You need to track how much of your sensitive information is now protected by the new crypto. Usually you'd use that prioritized asset list as your baseline.
What makes a good metric here?
The measures should be data-driven, obviously. Focused on progress. They should help decision-making, and don't track everything, limit it to a few key indicators.
Examples?
Maybe the number of high-priority systems fully migrated, or the percentage of sensitive data by volume or type, now under PQC protection. And again, check NIST and NSA guidance for the latest recommended ways to measure this.
And we mentioned people earlier. Activity 4.3 comes back to that. Assessing workforce needs. Are your people ready?
Yes, because implementing is one thing, maintaining is another. The lead needs to assess. Does our current workforce have the right skills to run and maintain these new PQC solutions long-term?
Identifying gaps.
Identifying workflow gaps, figuring out what training is needed and rolling it out,
Yeah.
and deciding if you actually need to hire new talent with specific PQC expertise,
Which impacts budget again.
which impacts the budget and the ongoing implementation timeline, absolutely. Upskilling or hiring takes time and money.
Which brings us to the final activity, 4.4. Monitoring and updating continuously the evergreen security posture. This really drives home the continuous journey idea.
It really does. This is the long haul. Constantly monitoring security developments, what are the attackers doing, what's happening with quantum R&D, continuously updating those inventory lists as systems change, tracking compliance as standards evolve, reassessing the risk environment.
And documentation.
Continuous documentation underlies everything. It's fundamental to maintaining that security resilience over time. You need that history, that record, to stay prepared for whatever comes next.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. It's clear that for many organizations, migrating to post-quantum cryptography isn't just, a nice to have. It feels pretty critical for protecting data against these future quantum threats.
It really is becoming essential planning.
And this deep dive into the MITRE Corporation's roadmap has given us a solid framework. Preparation, baseline understanding, planning and execution, and finally, monitoring and evaluation. It seems like a really comprehensive guide.
It is, and the underlying message, I think, the bottom line here is just how vital strategic planning is. Getting all your stakeholders aligned, continuously monitoring progress and the threat landscape, and that meticulous documentation.
It's all key.
It's all key for adapting to these big technological shifts and just maintaining a truly robust security posture in a world that, let's face it, keeps changing faster and faster.
Absolutely. And as that quantum computing landscape does continue to evolve, this whole conversation really reminds us that digital security, it's not some destination you arrive at, it's a continuous journey, isn't it? Always adapting, always looking ahead. So maybe a final thought for you listening. What part of your own digital life, your work, your data, might be impacted by this quantum future, and how might some of these roadmap steps apply to your own sense of preparedness?